Hey guys, Casual Crono here. In this video, we're going to do a character development on Yuna, Stellar Awakened. Yuna is an interesting character. She's currently at the top of the tier list, above everybody. Not that tier lists are the end-all be-all, but a lot of people will get her and then have no idea how to use her. So I thought I'd make this video kind of to showcase why she's thought of so highly. That said, she's a healer support character, so we're going to see how well I can make that case, so to speak. So first things first, we're going to head over to Nagsham for our usual, these are the types of skills that are helpful and what kind of party members to throw in. So, congratulations, you've just pulled Yuna, or you've just gotten her to 5 stars, and you've heard a lot about her. How do you use her? Well, let's take a look at her skills, first of all, because in general, it's a good idea to decide, is this person a DPS? Is this person a tank? Is this person a healer? Is this person support? What is their role? And looking through, you see regen, more regen, something about inspired. There's a magic attack. It's only 15 MP, which is usually a good sign that it's not a very strong one. There's a power reduction, physical reduction, and int and type resistance reduction. Oh look, she can inflict pain and it ignores target resistance, so right away she does have the potential to be a pain setter. Let's see, we can buff power, intellect, type attack, stack burn away, which reduces power and intellect. That's nice. And then if she is Stellar Awakened, you have Divine Vessel. And we'll talk more about Divine Vessel later. But those are her initial skills. Now the other thing that I do need to point out, she is one of the 12 or so characters that has a true manifest. She has the Grand Purity Staff. If you get the Grand Purity Staff, and if you get it all the way maxed out, if you weren't aware, that usually changes a few of her skills. Divine Utterance and Iridescent Blessing are the 2 skills that are modified by getting her true manifest. So you might not see a description that matches mine if you haven't finished her true manifest. Which, on that note, if you have not gotten her true manifest, I'm not really sure how helpful she's going to be for you. So if you pull Yuna, your first priority is to try and get her manifest weapon maxed out. That will make her much, much, much better. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to showcase just a few of her skills. And I'm going to explain these burnaways and inspireds. Inspired, plural, inspireds. I guess so. All right. So Yuna has Iridescent Blessing and Divine Utterance. If you get Yuna and if you get her manifest weapon maxed out, these will probably be 2 of the 3 skills that are on your skill bar. So Iridescent Blessing, it provides an HP and an MP regen, and it stacks this thing called Inspired. I can't really point to it because it goes away, but it's there at the bottom. It adds 500 health and 50 MP per stack. It stacks 3 times. It does not say lasts 3 turns or last 5 turns. It lasts the entire fight. Once you get 3 stacks of it up, as long as she doesn't get knocked out, it stays. And those stacks, it stacks up on the reserves as well as the frontline party. So all 6 characters in the fight will be receiving those stacks, which is awesome. You could spend 3 turns, stack it up, have her go hide in the back row, and she could stay there the entire rest of the fight, and your team has an extra 1500 health and 150 MP. So that's nice. So there she is. There's her regen. Next, Divine Utterance I was going to say the word casts, but that's not quite the right word. Places. Divine Utterance, besides being a party-wide buff, which is nice, it places a burn-away stack on the enemy. And you'll see it says minus 50 power and minus 50 intellect. That's not a percent. You see right above it where it says power plus 50 and intellect plus 50%. Well, burn away actually reduces the enemy's raw data. You know, if an enemy has 400 strength, one burn away means that enemy will have 350 strength. And you'll know if there's a stack there because it shows up as a little orange circle. So there, Bag Baddie now has 50 less power and 50 less intellect. Cast it again. Bag Baddie now has 100 less power and 100 less intellect. That might not sound super impressive when you see things, you know, like reduces enemies' intellect by 50%. Because then you're like, oh, it goes from 400 to 200. Well, yes and no. When you cast skills that put burn away on the enemy, then the enemy's power, let's just say its power, if it goes from 400 to 300 because of 2 stacks, and then you cast a skill that reduces enemy's power by 50%, it goes from 300 to 150. Whereas if you did not have those stacks, an enemy with a power of 400 and a 50% reduction, the power would go to 200. So these stacks eat into basically the base calculation. And we can do one more stack if we want. So now Bag Baddie is reduced 150 power and 150 intellect, which is a tremendous amount. And then when your team does all the reductions of power and intellect, it's based off of the new base power and intellect. And I'll show you some examples of that later in the video. But I've already actually recorded that part, so I kind of go out of order. What you'll see later, spoil the surprise, I guess. I fight Wyrmking's Shadow. I do one fight with Yuna in the party and stacking those burnaways, and then I do another fight with someone else in Yuna's place who has similar skills, power and int reductions, for example, but because we're not stacking, we're not burning away the actual stats themselves, the Wyrmking's Shadow is doing a lot more damage on the second fight. So those burnaway stacks are excellent if you're fighting a boss that is doing a lot of damage to your team. 3 stacks later, the boss is not doing that much damage. And then finally, as I mentioned, other skills. For example, she has Invoked Spirit, where she can place pain and poison on the enemy. So she has a lot of utility, not so much in the way of damage. She has, I kind of want to say, a hidden talent as well. I'm actually not sure if it's mentioned in the abilities. Yeah, it is. So Yuna is not listed as a water user. However, she has an ability that benefits water users. Any ally other than you using a water skill has this chain effect, and basically they use a water skill and it inflicts 3 stacks of water elemental break. So to showcase that, I'm going to throw her into a water team. We'll just grab the last 3 here. Now, does this mean she should be part of a water team? No, not necessarily. But this is one ability that would help water users if she is part of that group.
Eliminate the enemy.
So if you check the status of any character, you will see things like becomes immune to statuses, but that's because she's Stellar Awakened. We'll again get into that later. But if you check her status, chain ability, Any ally other than you uses a water skill, and it has to be an attack skill. And it activates 3 times per turn, which is great because there's 3 characters in the front row. It does Soul Water Eclipse, which means the enemy will have 3 stacks of Water Break. So let's get a water skill, water skill, water skill, and let's have Yuna get a regen. You'll notice on Bag Batty, there's 3 stacks of Water Elemental Break. It goes down to 2 because the next person attacks, but the next person, because they're using a water attack, restacks it up to 3 stacks. So if you have 3 water users that are constantly attacking, the enemy will have a constant string of water break, which of course improves damage. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get a poison on there. These people have nothing equipped, by the way. You'll see the water elemental break is still on there. And that's just one of her passives. That's just Yuna being Yuna. You don't have to cast anything to do that. So let's Divine Utterance, water attack, water attack, water attack. And there's the water elemental breaks. And because she is regenning their mana, the team is not running out of mana either, if that tends to be a problem for you. Do another Iridescent Blessing. She gets their hit points up more. They continue their water assault. And we'll just do one more Divine, Utterance. Not all their attacks are water, so. So if you choose to pair Yuna with a water team, they will constantly be doing elemental breaks for each other during the entire fight, as long as they're using water attack skills. So that's kind of a nifty little thing. I personally have never had her as part of a water team, but that is a passive, a little benefit of Yuna being Yuna. So we've talked a little bit about her skill set. Let's go ahead and throw her in a free team and find something to beat up. As I mentioned earlier, Yuna can really kind of fit in just about anywhere. So even though she has the ability to do those water breaks, here she is with a fire team. Free characters. Aisha, equipped as such. She has a 500 hit point badge. Normal style Aldo, equipped as such. Yes, I have room for a second badge, but I'm trying to mimic mid-game type gearing, so ignore the fact that he has that. Power badge is a plus 25. Yuna, equipped with her manifest weapon. Otherwise, she has a 300 hit point, 30 MP badge, and basically grasta that gives her health and more health. Particio, he's a good free tank from the Octopath Traveler collab. He has his personal weapon and armor. He has a 500 hit point badge, and then gear and grasta that give health. And just because I don't have a third one with an HP ore, he could have 300 more health if I bothered. So for back row support, in this team, Aldo is going to be doing the main damage, so it makes sense to have at least one person in the back row that can support Aldo. Gilna has Power of Inferno sword and 2 enhance if max HP swords. All 3 of these can be gotten before you reach the Hollow chapters. Geru is the other person in the back row. He has Sound Body Dragon, which improves Aldo's health. Power Sound Body Staff, which improves Aisha's and Yuna's health and MP. And then Power of Inferno Staff. So Aisha is able to do a little bit of extra damage. Really, you don't need that for this team. So, sidekicks. Iridian for healing. If you've gotten far enough that you have Kurobo, he is a free sidekick. He is a little bit into the Hollow chapters, but not too far. And for fire teams, he's pretty nice. When something takes fire damage, they lose power and intellect permanently. However, it is a double-edged sword. It affects allies as well as enemies. So if you're fighting something that does fire damage to your team loses power and intellect as well. So that is the team. Let's take it out for a spin. The boss we're going to try is Lynx. He is kind of a time-limited boss, I believe. He's part of the Crono Cross collab. So it's supposed to expire in a year and some's time. So we don't know if this stuff will remain past that point, but as of 2025, it's still around. Lynx is a tier 9 super boss of currently 12 tiers total, though it's very limited in tier 12. Now, this fight isn't completely fair. Yuna is Stellar Awakened and Aldo is Stellar Awakened. I can't undo that. So, part of Yuna's Stellar Awakening is that the party is immune to statuses 2 times at the start of a fight. So when Lynx tries to inflict pain, for example, things like that, the party will be protected. And we have a full AF gauge to work with. But that aside, it is a free team, and here's how it's going to work. We're going to use the first turn to blow the AF gauge. We're going to deploy Fire Zone. We'll do a Swift Cut, which reduces Lynx's power and intellect. Iridescent Blessing to give my team an MP regen. And Boss has your back for Rage. Then we're going to do the 2s, which is a buff, an attack, a debuff, and a debuff. And then we're going to spam all 1s. If I hit his HP stopper, I will try to work in some more Divine Utterances to get those burn away stacks going. So all 3s, all 2s, all 1s. 3, 3, 3, 3. 2, 2, 2, 2. All 1s. And there's a second Divine Utterance. There's a third Divine Utterance. And looks like we may have hit the HP stopper. We did 611 million damage with a free team, albeit on a boss that's weak to fire. You will also notice, thanks to Yuna's buffs, the entire team has a lot of health. Everyone's at 8,000 or 9,000 health, and it could go even higher. We'll do another Iridescent Blessing and get another stack of Inspired going. In the meantime, we're going to just simply attack, attack, and attack. Yuna is so strong with her heals that she was able to heal all of that back. And now the party has 2 stacks, making their health even higher. In the meantime, Aldo worked his magic, and Lynx is down to his, I think, is that 10% HP stopper? So we will attack, attack, do another Iridescent Blessing, and attack. Now the team has even more health. And Aldo finishes the fight. So Tier 9 Super Boss taken down quite easily, Yuna providing a lot of extra health, and heals when necessary. Now, you might be saying to yourself, well, Crono, that fight looked really, really simple, even though it was mainly free characters. How much of that was really because of Yuna? Well, here is the exact same team. Aisha, Aldo, equipped the same. Instead of Yuna, I'm using Palm. I'll get to her in a second. Partitio's the same, and the back row characters are the same. Why Palm? First, I realized this is Palm AS, Venus style. She is not a free character. She is a gacha character. So not everyone will have access to her. But that's not really the point here. Remember, we're showcasing Yuna, who hopefully you do have access to, or else you wouldn't be watching this video. Palm also has a group heal, and she can improve the party's power. She has a party int and speed buff. Doesn't really help Aldo too much, but that's what we got. That's what we're going to use. And then she can put down pain and poison and do a fire type magic attack. So she can actually keep the AF gauge going longer than Yuna can. So she has a heal, she has poison. And about the only thing she doesn't really have is a power and int debuff, which Yuna does. So keep that in mind. But otherwise, she has a somewhat similar skill set to Yuna. Everything else is exactly the same. And let's see how that fight goes when you don't have Yuna around and everything else is the same. Turn 1, we'll do the same thing. We'll blow the AF gauge, do all 3s, all 2s, and then all 1s. 3, 3, 3, 3. 2, 2, 2, 2, and then all 1s. Pain is on there, so now Aldo should be doing more damage, and we shouldn't have too much of an issue getting to the first HP stopper. Looks like we're there. I can redo a few buffs if I feel like it. So far, so good. 281 million. Yay. So we have power and int reduction of 10% because Iridian did wind damage. We have Kurobo's aura going on, so Lynx's power and intellect is down another 25%. Remember, those are not additive. It doesn't mean that he has 35% less power. In addition, he has a bunch of debuffs going on. Alright, attack, 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 just like the previous turn. Now, is the team all nicely healed up like it was last time? No, it's not. Is Lynx about to die? No, he's not. So, attack, 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 attack. So same as we did last time. Alright, we're getting some heals back. Everything's going good. Oh, we just lost Aisha. And Lynx has rage. It's not like he wasn't targeting Particio. Well, that's a 5-turn buff. That's a 5-turn buff. The debuffs are still on there, so it's not like he cleared them or anything. So I guess we'll just attack again. We need to make sure pain is on there. So at this point, the team is kind of hurt. We should probably heal. So let's go ahead and heal. Swift cut, the debuff lasts for 3 turns. You can see it's starting to fade right now. So we could either swift cut, or we could hope that X/Light will bring him down to his next HP stopper. That was nowhere close. But the team is healed back, so all good, right? No. Now, I realize that Palm's skill set and Yuna's skill set are slightly different. I mean, otherwise they'd be the same character, right? So, Yuna made that fight look stupid easy. Let's put her back.
Oh, me? Are you sure?
Maybe it was just a fluke. Maybe Yuna really doesn't make it that easy. Maybe I just got lucky. Here we are with completely ungeared Yuna. I can't even be bothered to remove the stuff from Palm and put it back on Yuna. Same thing. 3, 3, 3, 3. 2, 2, 2, 2. All ones. Second Divine Utterance. Third Divine Utterance. Alright. We're at the first HP stopper, just like last time with Palm. We check our statuses, still the same, Power and Int debuff, Power and Int debuff. This time, his power and intellect is reduced 150 points thanks to Yuna. Otherwise, all pretty much similar debuffs as before. And the team similarly buffed as before. So last time, we cast Iridescent Blessing in order to give us some more health, and the other 3 just attacked. Well, what's this? Aldo did a massive amount of damage. Yuna was able to heal back the team just fine. Attack, attack, attack. And we could do a third stack of Iridescent Blessing. Might as well. Now we have even more health. And once again, battle. Nice, easy, simple. Well, we had Palm, who was doing pain. We had Yuna, who was doing pain. We had Palm, who was buffing power. What was the difference? Divine Utterance was buffing up power by 50% versus Palm's 20%. Let's compare the two. Palm. Her vitality was a 2-turn power plus 20. So there was a 30% power difference, which does help Aldo's damage. But you saw that Aldo, with that 30% difference, it was kind of night and day with the damage that he was putting out. The incoming damage as well was a lot more manageable. We had 3 stacks of burn away, so Lynx's power and intellect were much lower in the fights with Yuna than they were with the fights with Palm, which led to the damage being a little more manageable. Divine Utterance also improves type attack, so in addition to Aldo's power going up by 50%, Aldo's fire type attack damage was going up 30% more. So that was combined probably one of the main issues that Aldo was doing more damage. But you just saw Yuna walk in with no gear whatsoever and helped make a huge difference in this particular free fire team. So the point I'm trying to make is Yuna, her skills aren't really healing based, it's her damage mitigation. She comes able to reduce incoming damage, making the whole team able to survive easier. She does have a very nice heal that heals back, like you just saw, like 10,000, and she wasn't even equipped with anything. So she can literally make the difference between a victory and a defeat, and you just saw that with a somewhat comparable gacha character versus Yuna. One way I can showcase Yuna and how important she is in practical fights. Test dummies really don't help that much. So here we are at the Wyrmking's Shadow, fairly high tier super boss. The team: Myunfa Alter, Shanghua, Iffy, Yuna, and then Palm and Fine in the back holding grasta. Sidekicks, Tetra, and guns. If you're curious about gear, here we go. I have 4 grasta on Palm. If I only had 3 slots, I'd probably skip one of the enhance if max HPs. And Fine also has 4 slots. If I had to skip one, it would probably be Sound Body's staff. I think that's everyone. All right. Yuna's importance is that she can significantly reduce the damage that a boss puts out. By stacking 3 burnaways, we reduce the enemy's power and intellect by 150 points. And the burnaways don't disappear over time. Once I have 3 stacked, I could even move her into the back row where she hides the rest of the fight. Not that we're going to do that. Along the same lines, her inspired stacks will also stay until she's knocked out of the fight. So what we're going to do, we're going to hit the AF bar and do a little bit of setup. We're going to deploy Magic Zone, we'll Trinity, Pain, and we'll go ahead and I'm torn between Divine Vessel or Iridescent Blessing for the regen. Let's just go ahead and do the Blessing for the regen. So we'll do 3, 2, 3, 3. Then we'll do 2, 1, 2, 2. So we'll try to get all the 3s and the 2s in. Since there isn't much attacking going on and we're not immediately in a zone, I usually tend to run out. So 3, 2, 3, 3. 3, 2, 3, 3. 2. And you can see I ran out of time. But we got our prayer going. And we have our Magic Zone. So now we're going to start stacking burnaways. We can do that by casting Divine Utterance or her stellar skill Divine Vessel. If we do Divine Utterance, we also give the party a buff. If we do Divine Vessel, we do the inverse. And right now, the only buffs the boss has... Oops. Oh yeah, that is the right one. Is his Wyrmking's Shell and Wyrmking's Magishell, which I don't believe can be inversed. So you're going to go ahead and Divine Utterance for the party buff. We'll go ahead and awaken the zone. We're praying right now, so we need a please. Alright, the boss has 1 stack of Burnaway. The reason the zeros are being shown, it's a combination. Yuna is weakening the boss's raw stats, not one of those 50% power reductions. She's actually reducing his base power. And then the prayer that Myunfa does, I'll do my best. Any damage that's at 1500 gets reduced to 0. It's kind of there in the middle of the description. I can't point to it, but... So if the boss is weakened enough that he's doing less than 1500, then Myunfa drops it all the way down to 0. We're on turn 3, so we will go ahead and Divine Vessel, Ichor, Horizon, And at this point, she doesn't have any type of skill that is an attack skill. So I could either repray or I could do another please. We'll just go ahead and do another please. Xianghua is able to knock out one of his lives in basically one hit with Horizon. He does end breath, but again, he's being weakened. My Unfa is praying. The team takes 0 damage. The boss now has 2 stacks of Burn Away. That's a little orange circle on his debuffs. As we wait, there it is. So we can do another Divine Vessel and do the 3rd stack of Burn Away. We could always rebuff as well if needed. But let's just go ahead and Divine Vessel it. We need to re-Rosaliliac because after each life point, the boss removes his debuffs. We'll continue our onslaught with Horizon. And let's go ahead and repray. There goes our life point. This time, Yuna took a little bit of damage, as you saw. But between Iridian and Tetra, she heals it right back. So let's take a moment. We are on turn number 5. We've eaten through 2 life points. The boss has 1 life left, and then of course we have to kill him. So he basically has 2 total lives. This health bar and 1 more health bar. The boss now has 3 stacks of Burn Aways, so the boss's power and intellect are reduced by 150 each. The team has 3 stacks of Inspired, so the team has an extra 1500 health and 150 mana. You can see that mana levels are very high, health is buffed, in part because of her, in part because of Tetra's aura. But Yuna has over 1200 health, and Iffy, her blood contract, shifts a lot of damage towards the character on the right. So in this case, Yuna. So it's a good thing she has so much health. Anyway, at this point, we are no longer in a magic zone. We do have an AF gauge to work with, so we will Charity, we'll Trinity, Rosa again, and we can either restore the MP regen, we can do the party buff, or we could Divine Vessel. In this case, we're going to go ahead and do the party buff and kind of prep up Xianghua for another attack. The boss does 10,000 damage even though he is debuffed. But Yuna had 12,000 health. No problems. We are now in an awakened magic zone again. The boss no longer has the inversion. It only lasts for 1 turn, so basically if you cast anything other than Divine Vessel, it will drop. However, we have an AF bar to work with. And we are praying and in an awakened magic zone. So what we're going to do, we're going to blow the AF gauge. We're going to do please. We'll go ahead and Horizon. Had to stop and think if I cast Trinity, but then I saw that little triple sword looking thing. That's the increased skill hits. So Rosaliliac is up, so we can Nocturnal Procession. So we're going to do 1, 1, 2, 3, and then all ones. 1, 1, 2, 3, all ones.
How embarrassing.
We've already, you can see, we've already eaten through the third life point. So we used some of the remaining bar to kind of cast the 2s and 3s and rebuff. Yuna takes a lot more damage this time, but gets healed back. And now the boss is counting down. We're still in an Awakened Magic Zone, we're still praying, and we have an AF Burst that we can use. If we Divine Vessel during the AF Burst, and just use another Horizon,
Enlightenment is the key to unwavering truth.
the boss gets nicely sliced up. See how easy that was? And that wasn't a result of Yuna's healing, that was a result of her debuffing. So what we're going to do now, we're going to swap Yuna out for another character that is very similar. Right now, Yuna's skills that I just used, Iridescent Blessing, gives the party a regen and improves their health. Divine Utterance improves party's power and intellect by 50%. Type Attack doesn't really matter for Xianghua, and simultaneously reduces power and intellect, the raw stats, up to 150. And then Divine Vessel, buff inversion. I looked through the staff characters, because we need a staff character for Mayunfa. And Helena, her skills are somewhat similar. We have Comet Tail, which improves the party's power, intellect, and speed by 25%. It is possible, though, buff effect can be doubled if we are in Vespers mode. And weapon type damage, 25%. So if it's doubled, then that would be 50%. That would be similar to Divine Utterance, which is power and intellect 50%. Instead of type attack, 30%, we gain the damage. Where's Comet Tail? Weapon type damage by 25%. Possibly times 2. Whoops. Actually, not so whoops. All right, Divine Utterance also reduces power and intellect. Wing Shot. It's 25% power and intellect. It's not 25, or it's not 50 power, it's power by 25%. So it is a power and int reduction, but it's not quite the same level. And there is diminishing returns. You can have 4 different characters all apply a power minus a certain percent. It's not like it's going to add up to 100 or 150% or anything like that. There's a point of diminishing returns. But the bottom line, Yuna can reduce power and intellect. Helena can reduce power and intellect. Yuna can improve party power, intellect, and Helena can improve party power and intellect. So the only real thing that we're missing is a buff to hit points. As far as a spammable skill, Earthly Casket is a single magic attack, and Yuna, her Divine Vessel, is a double magic attack. So technically it would keep the AF gauge going a little bit longer. We don't have the buff inversion. Very few characters in the game have buff inversion. But ultimately, Yuna and Helena, while they're not the same, and I'm not trying to imply they're the same character, overall, the skill sets overlap to a degree. So Helena would make a good comparison. It just so happens that my characters are similar in level as well. Now, Yuna, with the gear that you just saw her at, was at 8,600 health. We're going to steal Yuna's gear. So that way, so all of the gear is going to be the same. So, Mujima ring. As time goes on, she's going to take less damage. Same HP badge. There's one grasta. Two grasta. And 3 grasta. So even the hit points are fairly similar. 8,400 versus, I think, what was it, 8,600 or 80, yeah, somewhere around there. So mid 8,000s for both of them. So Helena, similar-ish skill set, not quite as good, but, and exact same gear. Let's get rid of you and put back in good old Palm. That would help. Alright, so characters geared the same as before. There you go. This time we have Helena, who will still be reducing power and intellect, still be buffing the party, and still have an attack that she can spam during an AF burst. In fact, does she have any 2 attacks? There's a 3 attacks. You know what? We'll keep the AF gauge a little similar. We'll do a 3 times magic attack. Remember that she's not going to do much damage because of the way the fight works, but alright. So, similar party, only without Yuna, and you're going to see a difference. So we are going to do the same as before for turn number 1. We're going to blow the AF gauge, do the 3, 2, 3, 3 skills. So we're going to deploy Magic Zone, get our skill hits improved, pain, and reduce enemies' power. And then we're going to try to do the 2s. We're going to try praying. We're going to try and do a link if possible. Nocturnal. And then Comet, which improves party's power and intellect. So we're going to do 3, 2, 3, 3. And then 2. Maybe just a 1, 2, 2. We'll see if we can do the same. I took a look at the video that I just recorded with Yuna, and I didn't get too far into the second round. So 3, 2, 3, 3. This is me mentally visualizing the keyboarding. And then 2, 1, 2, 2. 3, 2, 3, 3. 2. Oh, we actually got some attacks in. That was a little more than last time. Alright, damage number 1, 2,200. Tetra's aura kicked in. And Helena's over 10,000 health. Alright, we are praying. We do not have an awakened magic zone, so we're going to please link. I think I got Nocturnal in, but just to be on the safe side, we're going to use that. And same as before, I think I got a Comet Tail in, but just in case, we're going to improve the party's power and intellect some. Alright. Awakened, Magic Zone, praying. Person to the far right with a little less than 10,000 health now. Alright, third turn. Attack. At this point, doesn't really matter. Let's go ahead and Icrophilia. Horizon. And we will please again. Let's double check the prayers. Oh, we are not praying, so praying. Alright, Xianghua did 318 million per hit, which was a little less than the 500 million that she was doing before. You will notice also Helena took damage from the end breath, whereas before Yuna did not. Now we used up a life point, so we need to redo our debuffs. So we are going to do Wing Shot to reduce power and intellect, and Rosa Liliac to reduce power, intellect, and speed. Xianghua can continue doing Horizon, and we check our prayer. We are praying, so she can just go ahead and do a please. Okay, Xianghua did upper 400 millions per hit. End breath coming. All zeros. So far, aside from a little bit of damage from the first end breath, everything seemed kind of similar to before. Alright, so let's take a look. We need to... Looks like Wing Shot was done after the life point, because the debuffs are still there, so we do need a Rosa Liliac. We'll go ahead and Comet Tail to rebuff the team. Double check. We do not have our increased skill effects, so we need a Trinity, and double check our zone. No Magic Zone. So Charity Blend, Trinity, Rosa, and Comet Tail. Alright, we are in Awakened Magic Zone now. Nearly 8,000 in damage. 3,600 in damage. Now we have to rely on Iffy's Revive. At no point in the first fight did you see the Wyrmking doing 8,000 damage to anyone. And that would be in part because of the burn away stacks. Because you can see all of the debuffs are there. The 35% power and intellect debuff from Rosa Liliac is present, and the 25% power and intellect debuff from Wing Shot is present. See? So, similar debuffs, but it doesn't... Remember, these don't add. It's not like it's 35 plus 25 for 60%. It's multiplicative. But Yuna's Burn Away is just straight power, straight intellect, reducing his overall strength and intellect, and then we have the 35% on top of his reduced amount. So that's kind of the difference. Anyway, continuing on. We have the copy. So I think it was around this turn that we blew the AF gauge and started attacking. We were still in Awakened Magic and praying. So that means we can probably just... We'll do a Nocturnal Procession just to make sure. So we'll do... What turn is it? 6? Alright, we'll do one link. So we'll do a please, 3, 2, and then 2. So, alright, so mentally 1, 3, 2/2, and then all ones. And hopefully that should get Xianghua a few hits in and knocking this guy's next life point out. So 1, 3, 2, 2. 1, 3, 2, 2. All ones. Right, Horizon is doing noticeably less damage, but fortunately we can spam it enough that it still takes all the health out. You'll see like 100 millions, 300 millions, 200 millions. It was noticeably higher with Yuna around. But you could also chalk that up. This was a 25% int buff where Yuna was providing a 50%. Now, the last End Breath did a lot of damage, and because Helena was knocked out once, he's now focusing his attention on Xianghua, which is not good. Alright, we check our buffs. We are noticeably missing a prayer, and we have 1 turn left of Magic Zone. So we are going to pray. We're going to attack Rosa Liliac because we need to redo debuffs, and Wing Shot to redo debuffs. And Xianghua came very close to knocking him out, but we had to make use of another revive. Alright, countdown still going on. There's so little health left, I think we can just go ahead and burst and be done with it, but just to be on the safe side. Charity, Horizon. Did he Yes, Rosa and Wing Shot. Horizon should knock that out. Yep, no issues. So, Yuna compared to this team. Obviously, it can be done without Yuna. So, as I said, she's not an I win button, even though she's currently at the top of the tier charts. But what she does do is make this fight a lot easier. When we had Helena instead, Helena got knocked out, Xianghua got knocked out, we only had Mayunfa left before we had to maybe work in a revive. In addition, you saw that Xianghua's damage output was definitely lower. You saw that the whole party's damage being taken was higher. We lost 8,000 in one swipe with Helena. We never saw an 8,000 with Yuna. Yuna smooths this fight out and many other fights. If you're having an issue with the boss doing too much damage, try throwing Yuna in. But that way, there's a kind of side-by-side comparison. I know it's not perfectly identical, but there's no way to have an identical comparison because otherwise I'd just be swapping Yuna for Yuna. But there's a close comparison. Similar health, similar level, similar skill set, but Yuna made that fight so much easier. It was just almost relaxing to fight with Yuna. And that's, I think, one of the best ways I can showcase how she just makes boss fights so much easier. Now that you have some idea of Yuna's role, we're going to talk about her stellar ability. First, realize that you can buy 2 of her Stellar Awakening star charts in Nopal's Emporium. So if you have 800 Nopal gems, you can get her 2/3 of the way awakened. She might already be at 1/3 Stellar Awakened if she was a 5-star back before her patch arrived. If not, you'll need to use one All Cosmos star chart or get lucky and get her in the gacha. But she's a relatively easy character to get Stellar Awakened. So what do you gain from Stellar Awakening? You gain Divine Vessel, very valuable skill, and I'm going to show you that effect in a moment. It stacks Burn Away and Inspired at the same time. So 3 casts of Divine Vessel, and you're already all stacked up with both the buff and the debuff. It's a magic attack times 2, Yay. And certain buffs are inverted, becoming debuff effects for 1 turn. At this time, which is July 2025, this is a very rare skill to have. It's probably one of the main reasons Yuna is super top tier. Otherwise, if you burst with Divine Vessel, everyone gets revived, so the entire team, kind of like a Tetra type of thing, entire team gets revived, and everyone gets a 100% damage barrier 1 time. She also, if you have Yuna in the front line, she gives status immunity for 2 occasions, 2 times. And I wasn't able to remove that for like the Lynx fight, for example, since I already had her Stellar Awakened, but realize that is a benefit of her being Stellar Awakened. She likes being with light allies, not shadow allies. As long as you have 3 light allies in the front line, every time she takes an action, the stellar gauge fills up a little bit with light power. And when she bursts and light power is greater than shadow, everyone gets 2 knockback immunities. So that's nice. Now, if you only have a few points to spend, I would probably avoid the knockback string. Other characters can provide knockback. She may or may not be paired with light allies all the time. Most of the top damage dealers right now are all shadow. So even this tree might be not super worthwhile right away. But I would probably at least go for, well, definitely go for Divine Vessel, and then Enhance ability, and then Light Shadow ability, probably in that order. And if you have points to spare, this direction. And I say that because I like spending at least 2 points getting my Stellar Awakened characters to at least level 90. That's 10 levels of health, 10 levels of MP, 10 levels of stats that are going up. And I find that often to be way more valuable, usually, than whatever is in this tree. If it's a choice of a Cyclone immunity once, or Cyclone immunity twice, you know, I'm just going to go for once and then get 10 levels worth of stats. But that's me. So let's talk a little bit about this Divine Vessel. Certain buffs are inverted, becoming debuffs. And the boss I love showing this off to is EPS 245. I pronounce it Quadoxin. I throw in an O in there, even though there's not. So Quadzin, I guess, technically is the right way to pronounce it. I don't care. I hate him. I hate him so very much, if it's even a him. Oh, there is an O in there. Okay. I was wondering why I always said Quadoxin. All right, so Quadoxin has basically 13 lives. And every time you attack, we'll go ahead and attack right now. Every time you attack, he uses up a life. So there's 1. There's 2. You'll notice Xianghua did 77 million in damage. Sesta did a tremendous amount of damage. Everything's going good, right? Oh, what's this? Some sort of resistance? At the end of every turn, it looks the types of attacks it got and then provides itself resistance to something. So here, since it took a magic attack, it created magic resistance. Now, Xianghua technically is not doing magic damage, she's doing null type damage, so this doesn't affect Xianghua. Anyway, continuing on, Wicked Wolf. Iffy is a magic damage dealer, though, so you will see Ickerphilia doing less and less damage over time. We'll go, okay, well, let's just buff up the party, everything will be fine, we'll stack Burn Away and make the enemy weaker. So Wicked Wolf Sweep. Used up in our life. Horizon still doing its 77 million damage because it's insane. Ickerphilia did 1.4 each hit. And we used up 3 more lives. Alright, it resisted itself again. Now type resistance is 2/3. And every single turn it is slowly gaining in power and intellect as well. It's getting stronger and stronger as my attacks are getting weaker and weaker. Well, we'll go ahead and make him weaker. Ichorphilia, Horizon, and Wicked Wolf Sweep. Alright. Everything's going good. Ichorphilia did about 1 million per hit. Now, Ichorphilia also ignores target defenses, so that's kind of a benefit as well. So you're thinking, oh, this is just a cakewalk, this is going to be easy, Iridescent Blessing. Shangma is doing a little bit less damage, and that's just because of some of her own buffs that she does at the start of a fight. What's this? Ichorphilia did 0. That's not good. It's supposed to ignore target defenses, right? Well, it hit 3 stacks. Basically, this particular boss, Quadoxin, when he reaches 3 stacks, kind of becomes immune to that type of damage. And now, Quadoxin's working on slash resistance. So we're going to see Almighty Sesta and her Wicked Wolf Sweep doing less and less damage. But no worries. It's not like he's hurting my team, right? Two lives left. Wicked Wolf Sweep, instead of doing 7 million per hit, only did 3.8. Oh look, we're finally doing magic damage again. So that took out the last of its lives. It's shutting down. And the way this boss works, you have to kill him this turn, or else he wipes you. But we've been doing so much damage, no big deal, right? Wicked Wolf, Horizon, Ichorphilia, and we'll just buff up the team, be on the safe side, right? That's not that much damage, but we got Sesta. Ooh, that's not much damage. Uh-oh. Team got wiped out.
It's all my fault.
Alright. Well, let's go ahead. Get our AF gauge back. I guess technically I didn't use it, so...
Huh? Nothing. Sorry.
Alright, well, we know what to expect, right? This time it's going to be different. Alright, attack, attack, pain, and let's go ahead and get our regen going.
Here you go.
Alright, Divine Utterance. We'll just start attacking with everyone. Still no issues. You're probably wondering, Crono, why are you showing us this? Do one more Divine, Ichor, Horizon, Wicked Wolf Sweep. Let's take a look. How many lives left? 5. Okay. 4, 3, 2. And we'll get our regen going. Oh, Sesta just did 0 damage. That's unusual. If he just did 0 damage, and it just enhanced its slash resistance. Alright, so full stacks there, 4 stacks of power, 4 stacks of intellect, 1 stack of slash resistance improvement. And it still has 4 revives left. Alright, this is the power of Yuna. Divine Vessel. Certain buffs are inverted, becoming debuff effects. We're going to use that. We'll go ahead and use this turn to... Well, Horizon's still going to do damage, but... Okay, Yuna just knocked out a life. You'll notice now, if you see the buffs and debuffs, everything is pointing down now. It is weak to magic. It is weak to slash. Check that out. Power decreased. Physical resistance decreased. Type resistance decreased. Slash resistance decreased. Everything decreased. If you are fighting a boss that stacks buffs, Yuna can turn that into basically a liability. If you have a boss that stacks resistances, you can actually make them weaker. This buff reversal, which when you cast it, it is active obviously for the turn it's cast plus the turn afterwards. So even though it says it's a 1 turn, it's kind of sort of a 2 turn thing. However, it is fading right there, so if I don't cast it again, all the reversals go back to normal. That said, let's just go ahead and attack, attack, attack. You'll see that the magic damage is going through instead of being immune to it. Sesta is doing damage again.
Beautiful.
It's shutting down. And look at that. Slash resistance maxed out, piercing maxed out, blunt maxed out, type resistance maxed out. This thing will not take damage. Or will it? Divine Vessel. Certain buffs are inverted. And then we'll just go ahead and attack and attack. You noticed all of those maxed out buffs were pointing downwards before Sesta took care of it. Yuna has the power to make basically the stronger the super boss, the weaker the super boss. And there aren't that many characters in the game that can do that. That is what makes Yuna so immensely powerful. The buff inversion. The other nice thing, and we'll show it off really quickly after restoring the AF gauge. Alright, what we're going to do, we are going to get a magic zone going. So we have a pure magic team against a monster that normally would slowly become immune to magic. So we're going to do 3, 3, 3. The 3s, 2s, and 1s. 3, 3, 3, 3. 2. 2, 2, 2. Let's see, do we get us? So, Divine Vessel, besides inverting the buffs, will stack Burnaways and Inspireds. So every time I use Divine Vessel, you're going to see their health going up and him getting a Burnaway. So, attack, 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 attack. There goes a life.
You're a mistake.
There goes a life. There goes a life. And a stack on everyone. Buff reversal. So we just knocked out 4 lives. Poor Quadoxin thought he got more powerful. He just got weaker. So we're going to attack, 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 attack. Bye-bye life.
You're a mistake.
This boss, by the way, in the final form, all he has is 200 million health. It's not like one of those bosses that has billions upon billions. But you'll see, by just constantly using Divine Vessel, the team is continuously able to damage him, and he's just making himself weaker and weaker. Let's actually get a magic zone going. Now the bad thing is you have to use Divine Vessel every single turn, or eventually, if that debuff or the buff inversal wears off, he's going to boost back up to all of his immunities. Alright. Attack, 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 attack. So at no point during this did we ever reach a point where he was taking 0 damage from magic. And slowly over time, just by spamming Divine Vessel, the team's health got larger and larger, and the enemy got multiple stacks of Burnaway. Now, we're in that final turn. Divine Vessel to remove all those immunities. We can just Horizon and Thundercrack. And now, with that reversal, we can blow the AF gauge and just attack. And the boss is defeated. So the boss, which is known for being immune to everything, Yuna laughs at that.
How embarrassing. I'll take you to a place where chaos reigns.
So think about that the next time you encounter a boss that has a stacking power buff, stacking int buff, something that you don't want to stack. Well, if you have Yuna, chances are, and there are a few exceptions, but most of the time, she can undo whatever the boss is trying to do and make your life much, much easier. So for that reason, it is highly recommended, if you have Yuna, to Stellar Awaken her. The fact that 2 of her 3 star charts can be bought in Nopal's Emporium makes her relatively easy to get Stellar Awakened. So, do it, thank me later. In summary, there's a reason Yuna right now is topping the tier charts. She's a tremendous healer who can improve the party's health even further. She has some flexibility on fights. She can reduce enemies' power and physical resistance, or enemies' intellect and magic resistance. She can inflict pain, and it ignores target resistance and poison. She can buff up the party and burn away the raw stats of an enemy. And her stellar skill, Divine Vessel, has the ability to turn buffs into debuffs. In addition, spamming it, for example, in an AF burst, and you can quickly get all 3 stacks of Burn Away and all 3 stacks of Inspired up on your team and up on the enemy. It attacks all enemies, so if you're fighting 3 or 4 enemies, all of them are getting Burn Away stacks all at the same time. In a Stellar Burst, she can provide everyone with a 100% damage barrier and revives people, as well as restoring all of their health. She is an incredible character. She can make an enemy's damage output look like night and day compared to pretty much any other character in the game. For now, she's one of the very rare characters to have this buff inverse ability. As time goes on and more people have it, it might be less and less important to have Yuna on your team, but until that time comes, she's one of the very few characters in the game that can. So, if you have the ability to Stellar Awaken her, by all means do so. She's one of the few that, while yes, she can function as a healer and a debuffer without it, the ability to inverse buffs is a game changer for some super bosses, and you will wonder why you didn't Stellar Awaken her sooner. She's very flexible as well. She helps with water characters by providing water break, but as you saw, you can fit her in just about any team. Besides the water team you saw in this video, I put her in a fire team, which is kind of the opposite of water. I put her in a magic team, and I put her in a mixed group team, Sesta and Shanghua together with Yuna. Pretty much my approach with her, when I encounter a super boss that is pumping out tremendous amounts of damage and my tanks can't even keep up, I try to work in Yuna. If I can successfully work her into the team, then I find the damage output tends to be a lot more controllable, the tanks tend to survive, and that allows my damage dealers to continue doing damage. So she's not necessarily an I win button, but she's fairly close to it. Anyway, that is my video on Yuna Stellar Awakened. I hope this helps you. Casual Crono, signing out.